Welcome to the West Virginia Case Podcast, hosted by Les Odell. Join us as we dive deep into all things strange, including Bigfoot, aliens, ghosts, and more. Pull up a chair and set for a spell. It's going to be a great time. Now, without further delay, let's get the show started.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey folks, welcome back to the West Virginia Case Podcast. Tonight we got an awesome guest. We got Dave Weigert. He is a producer and host of Bigfoot and Paranormal podcast. He's had several experiences in his lifetime and become an investigator. But the first thing I want to put out there is an event that's coming up in Pennsylvania, hosted by my friend Daniel Benoit. It's let me throw a picture up here for you real quick. I got to find it, but it's here we go. It is PA Myths and Legends, the PA Myth and Legends, PA Myths and Legends Festival. It's May 25th at Bakersville Community Grove Park in Somerset, PA, 2287 State Route 4001, Somerset, PA, 15501. As you can see there's some speakers, and I will be there as well as a speaker. We got my good friend Ron Howes. We got our next week's guest on, are going to be speaking, John Stasko Jr., good friend Gwen Purcell, and a good friend of ours also, Fred Saluga. So yeah, if you want to come out and have a good time and enjoy a good event, come on out to Somerset, PA next week. With that being said, I also want to say one thing. Tomorrow, I don't know if my wife is actually watching, but I just want to wish my wife a happy anniversary tomorrow. Tomorrow will be our 10th anniversary. And yeah, she put up with me this long, and we've been together a little bit longer than that, but yeah, we've been 10 years together, and I'm happy to be her husband for 10 years, and hopefully for the next 100 years if it has to be. So with that being said, I'm going to start Dave's bio here. He sent me a little video, and we'll just go ahead and listen to that.
Dave Weigert was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. His family has seen and experienced far more than most families with strange encounters and tragic moments. Dave, the youngest of 4 children and the only living sibling, went on to have many strange encounters throughout his childhood and adult life. At age 20 he began his journey to learn about the unknown. Dave has a background with Baltimore County Fire and Police, private security, bodyguard, bank security and security for a Baltimore sports team and other law enforcement agencies. Dave started the Maryland Paranormal Research Team in 2003 and closed the doors in 2016. He started Other Voices on the MPRT radio network along with a newsletter. From 2007 till 2016 he was the curator for the haunted Ramblewood Mansion. He hosted years of paranormal research and investigations at the location. Dave was also a mobile DJ for 35 years. Dave was a speaker at a number of colleges speaking about the paranormal to students. Dave founded the Maryland Bigfoot Research Team in 2018 and left it to a former member of MPRT. He now resides in Bucks County, Pennsylvania near his grandchildren. He has since founded the Mid-Atlantic Bigfoot Research Team. He currently hosts a podcast weekly called Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters Podcast. Let's welcome Dave to the podcast.
Hi, Dave. How you doing?
Hi, Les. First, I want to thank you for having me on as a guest. It's an honor to be on your podcast. And happy anniversary to you and your wife.
I appreciate it. And I'm honored to have you here. Thanks for coming. I know you earlier said you were feeling a little under the weather, so we'll just go, however long you want, we'll keep at it. And, but hey, if you got to duck out, I understand, we'll do what we need to do. but I'm happy to have you here.
Well, whatever I had going on disappeared, so I should be okay.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So the first thing I want to ask you is, you know, how'd you get into all this? How'd you get into the paranormal?
Well, uh, like you, I grew up in a haunted location. My parents, um, strange things that would happen from time to time, and I would, as I got older, I would listen to my parents talk to their siblings, their brothers and sisters, and they were having issues as well. Things that were going on was, shadows and the flickering lights and hearing voices and all sorts of different things. By the time I reached the age of 10, I had my first UFO encounter. My brother, a couple of years older than me, was getting ready to go on a camping trip, and they were going to Canada, and they were waiting in a parking lot to be picked up. And he had sent me back down to the house to get something. And when I came back up, as I'm walking towards them, everybody's looking up. So I looked up, and there it was. Not real far up, but enough that that we were able to tell that it wasn't something normal. It wasn't a plane or a helicopter. It was a silver shaped disc that was just hovering above everybody. How far up in the sky it was, I have no way of knowing that, but it wasn't that far up that you had to. What is that? What is that? It was low enough that you could tell what it was. Let's see. I'm 60 years old now, and I started diving into the paranormal by the time I reached age 20. And the old TV shows, sightings, stuff like that. I was watching that. I was picking up books and reading stuff, and just diving into it as much as I could. And I'm going to go over some of the things that some of my former members and friends thinks that the Weigert family has a curse on them. I don't think it was a curse. I just think it was just what I mean by that is we've had a great number of tragedies after tragedies, and some of the tragedies were associated with angelic things, and some of it turning out okay and good, and some of it just remained bad. And my parents had 4 kids. In 1960, my brother and my sister were playing at my parents' shore home, and they were playing with a beach ball, and my older cousin was in and out of the house getting clothes to hang up on the line. And when she came out, she noticed that both of them were missing. So she started hollering for him. Next door was a boatyard, and the guy that owned the boatyard came out and said, "Betty, what's wrong?" And she's like, "I can't find Ellen and I can't find Georgie." And he's like, "Oh no." The ball was floating on the water, right at the shore, almost at the shoreline. So he goes running into the water, and he tells Betty to call for help, get us some help. So he goes through the water, and then they had to have, I believe it was Middle River Rescue Squad that went into the water. And when they found them, they were holding hands. My sister was 9, my brother was 5. And they were taken to the hospital. They were put on life support. and the two of them died like 3 days apart. So nothing good came out of that. And in 1976, my brother Charles was in a automobile accident where the motor was sitting in his lap. So he was pretty much burnt, crushed, and had a lot of internal injuries. So he went into the hospital, was put in ICU. He was in there for 1 week before he passed. But before he passed, there was a few things that had happened back at the house. We would leave the hospital from time to time to go get, something good to eat, get washed up, get cleaned up, change clothes and stuff like that. And the family was about, my parents' house, moving around. And all of a sudden we heard glass break. So me and my dad and my mother's brother, we went to the kitchen, and my mother was standing there, and she was standing in a puddle of orange juice. She was out there making orange juice because she was diabetic. So she had made the orange juice, and, we heard the glass break, and we went out there, and she was standing there like she was in shock. So her brother was like, he started shaking her a little bit and was like, "Marie, are you okay?" And she just looked at my father. She goes, "He's gone." And my dad said, "What do you mean he's gone?" I'm sorry, I get emotional, but I don't mind telling, the story. But anyway, she said he's gone. And just, as she said that, there was a phone call. It was the hospital, want the family to get back up there. By the time we got back up to the hospital, he had passed away. And later on, she explained to her brother Bill that she was standing there holding a pitcher of orange juice, and she felt this warm embrace. And she said when she looked behind her over her shoulder, she saw his face, clear as day, no injuries, because, the car accident had caused glass to be embedded in his face, and he had lacerations and fluid on the brain and all different types of injuries. So that was in 1976. He was only 18 years old. He had just graduated from high school and was planning on becoming a Maryland State Trooper, Maryland State Police. He was an artist. He could draw. He could paint. So, as the years went on, just many of things happened. One evening, we had a thunderstorm, and my mother and my father and I went out onto the porch after the bad part was gone to get some air because the electric went out. So we went out onto the front porch to sit, and me and my dad, I remember we sat on a wooden bench, and she got up on a metal trash can against a metal pole, which was holding up the A-frame roof. And all of a sudden, a bolt of lightning came out of nowhere, hit the metal pole behind her. The electric came down, sizzled around the trash can. She lit up blue, green, yellow, red, all different kind of colors. And my dad said, "Get up, get up." So I got up, and he took the bench and he hit the trash can. She fell onto the porch. And he was like, "Oh my God, I hope she's all right." So he shakes her, and she looks up at him, and she's smiling. She's laughing. My father said, "Are you okay?" She goes, "I'm fine." She said, "That was neat." He said, "What do you mean it was neat? You just got electrocuted." I said, "Dad, take her in the kitchen and check her for, wounds." And wound, or where it entered, or if she was burnt. He took her in. She was the first one to come back out. She goes, "Dave, I'm fine." My dad comes out shaking his head. He said, "There is absolutely nothing wrong with her." We did take her to the emergency room to have her checked, and they were very shocked. But I'll tell you what, I never seen something like that in my life, or heard of anything like that. I mean, she was shaking when she was sitting on the trash can. She was lit up, and this lightning's just like going around the trash can and the pole, and she wasn't even burnt. Her clothes weren't even burnt. So, my mom went on to live to, the age of 52. She finally got, she went blind, and then kidney failure. Now, when she got her kidney failure, she was in and out of the hospital. If you want me to stop at any time to ask me a question, just raise your finger, because I'll talk a lot.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So she was in the hospital, and she told the doctors and she told the family, she said, "I'm not going anywhere until my grandson's born." Well, he was born. She got to hold him. She couldn't see him, but she got to hold him. And she said, she told the family, she told the doctor, she said, "I'm happy now. Just let me rest." So the doctors had informed the family that it was time to prepare for the worst, because she wasn't going to leave the hospital and come back home. So the doctors told me and the rest of the family that we could come up, spend as much time with her as we wanted. And, we didn't have no certain visiting hours. So one evening, a friend of mine stops over, and his name was Joe. And he says, "Man, you look depressed. You look sad." I said, "I'm just worried about my mom." He said, "Yeah, I bet." He said, "You want to go up and see her?" I said, "Yeah, let's ride up." So we go up there. And I remember arriving at the hospital. We go up to her room, and the nurse stopped me in the hallway, and she said, "Your mom's been hollering for Charles." I said, "That's my brother. He passed away in 1976. And she said she's got a picture, of him in the room. And she's got a picture of you and Dad. She said, "Go ahead, go spend some time with her." So I go in the room and I sit down. She's asleep. So I'm sitting there, I guess 10 minutes went by, and she wakes up and she said, "Dave, why are you here?" I said, "Because I miss you. I wanted to come up and see you." She says, "Okay, come here. I want to tell you something. I want to share something with you." So I sat down on the edge of the bed, and she held my hand. And she said, "I got to hold my grandson." She goes, "I want you to promise me that you'll take great care of him. Be good to him. Take care of Dad. Take care of yourself." And, I kind of thought that it was the medicine that they had her on, because she was in pain. She had tubes in her back for her kidneys, for her lungs. They were draining fluid off from time to time. And so, she told me all this. She says, "Now go home and get some rest." She said, "But before you go," she said, "I'm leaving tomorrow." I broke down in tears. She couldn't see it, but she sensed it. And she took her hand, and she took her finger and she wiped the tear. I'm sorry, from under my eye, and told me to go home and get some rest. So I spent a little bit more time with her. And I didn't think anything of it. I just thought maybe, it was the medication and that's why she was talking when she was talking. So I go home and Joe says, Dave, go get some rest. I'm gonna leave. I'll see you tomorrow. So I go upstairs, I get in bed, and I talk to my wife for a little bit, and, told her what happened. And I fell asleep. 10 after 7 the next morning, the phone rang. I sat up like the Undertaker in pro wrestling. And I knew it was the phone call. So my wife picks up the phone and she says, hello. And they must have said, can I speak to Charlene or Dave? My wife said, speaking. And she got quiet. And then the next thing she said was, all right, I'll let him know. She hung the phone up. She didn't even have to tell me. I just stood up. I lost it. I remember going out of the bedroom to the top of the steps, and I stumbled and I fell down the steps, and I did hurt myself. And my wife was like, do you want to go to the hospital? And I'm like, yeah, but not for me. So, I got up to the hospital, and she was deceased. And I went in, they let me go in the room. I went in, and I took the pictures out of her hand, and I laid them face down on her, what do they call it? The little cabinet they keep beside the bed. And I closed her eyes, and I kissed her on the head, and I just sat there and held her hand. I said, all right, I said to myself, I need a break. So I went out to the waiting room, and I don't know how much time had went by, but I went back into the room, and the pictures were laying face up. I shook my head, and I said to myself, I spent a couple more minutes with her, and the nurse come in, and she asked me how much more time did I need to sit with her and grieve. And I said, I'll go out in a few minutes. So I did. My dad was in the hospital. He had a heart attack. My mom didn't know. He was on the floor below her. Well, he's got her comb. He's got the stuff, that he would clean her up with. And he's on his way up. So when he got up to her floor, the nurses stopped him, sat him down in a wheelchair, and and told him the bad news. And of course, I went walking over to him and started hugging him. And by then, all the family was there. All the family had arrived, and that that was the end of that. Then my father, his sister had passed away on Christmas Day. And I told my wife, I said, we need to go down to his apartment. Because he was out of the hospital, and went down to his apartment to break the news to him, and he broke down. That was his sister that died on Christmas morning, was the last sister of 6 sisters, and he was the only boy. So he gets some clothes together. I said, let's go to my house, get some clothes, get what you need. We go to my house, and it was like 2 days before the first viewing for his sister. And we went to the funeral home, and my wife heard him say to his sister in the casket, hon, I'll be with you soon. I'll be there soon. And he went over and he sat down and, was greeted by, other family members. So we went to see her one more time. And that night, he I think it was around 2 o'clock in the morning. My wife was in bed. I was in bed, but I wasn't sleeping. I was watching TV. And I heard a noise. So I go out to the living room. My father says, where am I at? Where am I at? I said, Dad, you're at my house. He had a bad heart. He had a pacemaker and all that stuff. And I said, Dad, here, let me get you untangled and sit you back down on the couch. I sat him back down on the couch, and he says, go ahead, go back to bed. I'll be fine. I said, no, I'm going to sit up with you for a little while. So we talked, and he says, I want to share something with you. I said, what's that? He said, Mom was here. And I said, Dad, I said, you'll be okay. Mm-hmm. And he says, no. He says, I'm leaving tomorrow. Well, the next morning I got up. My wife had left early to go to work to do payroll. And I came out of the bedroom, and he was sitting on the couch, and he was drinking a cup of coffee, and he was cheerful. And he looked at me and he says, man, you look tired. I said, yeah, I didn't sleep good. He said, well, why don't you go back in the bedroom and lay down? And he said, I'll wake you up in an hour or two, whatever time you want to get up. I said, okay. I said, do you want me to fix you anything to eat? He said, I already ate. I said, okay. I said, all right, I'm going to go in and lay down for an hour. And no alarm. I woke up exactly in 1 hour. And, I remembered what was going on, what he said to me the night before. And I went walking out into the living room. He was sitting on the couch. His head was tilted back. His mouth was open. His eyes. And I just almost jumped on top of him. I straddled him, and I'm shaking him like, Dad, Dad. And he was cold. So I knew he had, been deceased, for a while. And, of course, I had to call 911. The police come out. They checked, and he said there was no foul play, and, there was nothing that, they could see that, maybe he had done something to himself. All his pills in his bottles were normal. And so that week, we had to bury my Aunt Helen, his sister, and my father. So I'm just going to look at my notes here because, when I get emotional, I can't think straight. Let's see. I already talked about that. So, basically both parents told me the night before that they were going to be leaving, and going to be with God. After my dad died, I was sitting in my living room one afternoon, and I said, man, I gotta go take my medicine. I said, ooh, I gotta call Dad. I wasn't thinking. So I picked the phone up and I called his number. It says, the number you have reached has been disconnected. I said, what am I doing? Let me go get my drink and my medicine. I go out to the kitchen and the phone rings back. I said, all right, the answering machine will get it. So I let the answering machine get it. I took my medicine, I went back in, and I went to check the message. The message was a male voice, and I had to play it over and over and over and over to try to figure it out. I even let, later on, I had let members of my group and other people listen to it, because what I was hearing was, I'm Dad. But everybody else that I let listen to it said, I'm dead. Which almost sounds exactly the same as I'm Dad. So, let's see. I just want to. 2 times I should have died. One was from a tragic car accident I was in, where I was in my patrol car and I hit a parked 18-wheeler with a race car garage hooked up to the back of it with a race car in it. And I'm not going to go into great details on that one. Very emotional, but it was very angelic. And I don't know if it was a guardian angel, if it was my mom, if it was a deceased loved one, but I should have died in that car accident. I mean, they said I hit that 18-wheeler 80 miles an hour. I had cracked my sternum, broke my nose, had glass in my forehead. My arm was broken 3 places. My back was all messed up. And I will say this. I remember waking up in the car and the car was on fire. And I took my good arm and I tried to open the driver's side door. The car was so badly wrecked that the steering wheel was up near where the windshield is. The mirror was just like totally gone. All the plastic, the dash was up in the windshield. But I tried and I tried to open that door. I don't know. I was so hurt. I don't know how long exactly I tried. But I'll tell this part. A warm sensation came over me. I was bleeding. I was miserable. But I felt this warm sensation like come over my neck, my shoulders, to where it almost released all the pain that I was in. And then all of a sudden, the car door, driver's side, came open. I fell out onto the road. When I fell out onto the road, I don't know why I didn't call 911. I called my wife, and my wife said, I'll call 911. We're on our way. So my wife got there. Just as they got there, the fire department, the medics, and I was laying in the road and they put me on a stretcher. And I'm watching them put the fire out in the car. And I'm watching them work on the door, trying to get the driver's side door open. I don't know why. They never got it open. They put the fire out. I was taken to the hospital. And the reason I had crashed was because my sugar, I didn't know I was diabetic. My sugar had jumped up to almost 700. So I actually went into a diabetic coma, and that's what caused me to hit the 18-wheeler. But that warm sensation that went over me, I felt this vibration. I heard a humming noise. And as bad as I was hurting, I was able to turn my head like this. And when I did, I seen all kinds of different colors like green, yellow, red, blue, orange. And I turned my head back to release some of the pain I was feeling. And I went to look again and it was gone. What it did was it came around the passenger side and it was now in front of the windshield. And I'm just sitting there, I couldn't see through it. It was just a number of colors. And I was still feeling that warm sensation. And I wasn't feeling the great deal of pain I was feeling before that happened. I watched this ball of different colors turn into one color, go over the fence, across the parking lot, and over the warehouse roof. And I'll tell you, I never seen anything like that, in my life. I was in the hospital for almost 3 weeks. Like I said, my sternum was cracked, my nose was broke, arm was broken 3 places, glass embedded in me, and but I survived. And that was in 2001. My 18th birthday.
I want to ask you a question first before you go on.
Sure.
You was talking about the collars, and you mentioned that with your mother. Was that the same thing you were seeing with your mother that you saw during your accident?
You mean when she was electrocuted?
Yes, sir.
No, that was something totally different.
Okay.
When I see my mother in all those colors from that bolt of lightning just spinning around the trash can and the metal pole that held the A-frame roof that was above the porch, totally different. No warm sensation or anything like that. So, go ahead.
So do you feel the collars that you were seeing, do you feel that was an entity, a guardian angel or something of that nature? Or what do you think it was?
Yeah, my car accident. I don't think it was anything negative or bad because I didn't sense anything like that. Prior to getting in the car, I went into dispatch, and I remember getting a can of Coke and a Snicker bar. I came out, I got in the car, I tuned into a good radio station and I put my patrol radio on, and I drove out of the gate and I made a left, and that was it. That was it until I woke up in the car on fire. But that those colors were so beautiful. I wasn't scared. I wasn't freaking out. I just felt relaxed. Like it had taken control over me of my pain, the pain that I was in. You can imagine, the pain that I was in from smacking a Peterbilt tractor trailer 80 miles an hour. And so here's a part I want to add. After I got out of the hospital, I went down to the company to fill out some papers. I had to do workman's comp, and I went down to, see my coworkers, and 3 of my coworkers walked over to me and said, "How did you get out of that car?" I said, "I pushed on the door with my good arm, and then I don't know. Finally, it opened, and I like fell out." And they're like, "Dave, no." I'm like, "What do you mean no?" One of my coworkers said it took 3 of us with crowbars to get that door open because we had to take pictures for the insurance company.
Yeah, I was I was just about to ask you that. That was a question I had.
Yeah.
So the time that you saw these collars and stuff, you were still in the driver's seat, correct?
Yes.
Because you said it come around to the front, to come around. Was that prior to any of the EMS and
no, it's like I said, I remained, in the seat the whole time. These colors and this ball came around the right side of me. And then it like hovered dead center of the, bashed in windshield. Because the what do they call it? The top of the car in the front, the hood,
right,
was smashed into like this. That was smashed up towards the windshield. But I watched this ball. I just like lifted my head and watched this ball of light go over the fence. The fence is about, I would say, 8 feet. And then it dropped down a little bit. And as it was going away, it got smaller and smaller until it went over the warehouse roof. And then that was the end of it.
But the sighting was prior to EMS before they got there, or when you had?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So when did you start pushing on the door? Before or after you saw the light?
As far as I can remember, I was pushing on it for a good while before, and then some after the ball had disappeared of light. And I stopped. I just got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. And I don't know what the time frame was, but all of a sudden, to my left, I just heard a click.
Mm-hmm.
And the door came open. And I heard this. And I looked over. And I took my arm and I pushed the door and it came open the rest of the way and I fell out. I was laying on the road.
And you were, as you were laying there after the EMS got there, you said you looked over and they were still trying to open the door.
They were trying. I don't know why they were trying to open the door. I guess they wanted to get in there and see if there was any fire on the inside, or
okay,
there was glass broke, plastic. Not only glass did I have embedded in my skin, I had plastic sticking in my forehead and my face, and it was just a mess.
Okay, I just want to ask you this. At that point in time, I mean, have you and since then? Well, let me ask you this question in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, as you look back on that point in time, do you feel that maybe possibly you had a near-death experience, and maybe you were not really out of the car, but your astral being was, and you're actually looking and watching EMS trying to recover you out?
No. After the EMS showed up, like I said, I can't give you an accurate time frame, but after I rode out of the car onto
Mm-hmm.
the ground, they were coming in the
Okay.
entrance, and they almost ran me over, because the car was partially on the dirt where I had hit the 18-wheeler, and part of the car was still sticking in the road. And the road was only like 8 to 10 feet wide. So when they pulled in, they almost ran me over. And the medics and the fire department arrived at the same time my wife did, which I think was pretty weird, But yeah, it was just, when I went to my job weeks after I got out of the hospital, and one of my coworkers told me, no, that door was mangled on both sides. There was no way you got out of that car. And I'm like, well, I did, because the fire department didn't remove me. Well, how'd you get out? Climb out the window? I said, no, the door opened. And I just fell onto partial dirt, and then the rest was concrete. And I just kept rolling because I was trying to get up, but my arm was so badly mangled, broken 3 places, and one of the breaks had almost come through the skin, and I was in a great deal of pain. After them colors and that light left, I was back to being a 10 plus in pain. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't know what to even say about that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can see why you say that people say there's a curse on your family. I can see that. So from that point on, I surely, I mean, I know, you're here with us now, but you've healed and you've went on. where did it go from there? What did you do? Did you retire from the police force, or did you move into another field?
Well, I continued working. I went back to work, and you know, I worked for a number of agencies, Bethlehem Steel Police Department. I worked for Baltimore County Fire and Police. I wasn't a fireman. I didn't fight fires. I just did like a technical unit for bad, tragic car accidents, like a pile-up, hostage situations, and somebody was in a house saying they were going to blow it up, and we would set up the base area for the police and the fire department, and we would take care of minor first aid. We had a bus where if people were forced out of a house because of a fire, we would provide warm blankets for them and food and snacks and clothing, and we would try to cheer some of the kids up with stuffed animals and that sort of thing.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump ahead a little bit and tell me about how you got into the investigating part of the paranormal, whether it's the ghosts or if you want to talk about Bigfoot, whichever one you wish to talk about.
Okay.
So, well, let me ask you. We'll just go into the paranormal or the like ghosts and spirits and stuff like that. We'll go into that a little bit. When did that start? When did the investigating start, and why did it start? Was it? I mean, I can understand your what you've experienced through your lifetime, and and the same as me. I can understand that. That led me into doing the things I've done. But when you started it, I guess the group you had. What
I started the Maryland Paranormal Research. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I just want to ask you, what was the defining or that point? You're like, hey, I want to do this. I want to start this and go from there.
Yeah. In 2003, I said, okay, I've pretty much done enough, on my own. It's, I wanted to create a paranormal team. So in 2003, I opened the doors for the Maryland Paranormal Research Team, and it grew. And we didn't shut the doors until 2016. We had a great team. We were like family. Now, one of my members really pissed me off, about the curse thing. We had Rose. I just did a memorial thing in the last couple of days for the members that we lost. So we lost Rose, we lost Cora, we lost John, Paul. My God, it was about 6 or 7 members over that course of the years. And, they died from, cancer and, illnesses and stuff like that. It wasn't car accidents or, that sort of thing. But the Maryland Paranormal Research Team was special. I always had a large number of people ask me, how is it MPRT's getting everything? I said, what do you mean? And they're like, well, you're getting the majority of all the investigations in Maryland. You're getting into places for investigations that teams tried to get in the door and investigate locations. I mean, I had access to federal property, a lot of places, state hospitals and that sort of thing. And I was always questioned, from paranormal teams in Maryland. And they were like, well, what am I doing wrong? What is the team doing wrong? How are you getting all these investigations and access to places I wrote letters to 3 and 4 times? I'm like, I don't know. I can't give an answer for that. But we went on to we've done many well-known cases. Uh, there was a case in 2007 that we did for a woman that had a gentleman living in her house that was from Vietnam, and I told the group after about 4 investigations, I told them, I said, "This is fraud. It's not what you think." And they were like, "Why are you so sure? How do you know?" I said, "Trust me." So I closed it out. The woman threatened to sue me. She said, bring my pictures back, and I had them delivered to her and had her sign for them. Well, Paranormal State contacted me and asked me to be in an episode. The episode was called "Smoke and Shadows." You know what that has to do with a Vietnam vet. The smoke, the shadows of all the soldiers fighting and running and flipping out, stuff like that. Well, this guy had moved into this woman's house, and he was pretty cracked up from Vietnam War, and he was doing everything. And I tried to convince my team that what he was doing, and there was a couple other members that felt the same way, but not the whole team. So I told Paranormal State, I said, no, I said, I don't want to be in the episode. I don't want to, I'm not into 5 minutes of fame. I just wanted to investigate and leave it at that. But I like I said, I told Paranormal State no. And I told them, I said, if you go and do this case and see anything otherwise, like it's real and it's really happening, I said, I'm going to bust somebody's ass. And he says, okay, I think we're done here. So we hung up, and they went on to do the case, and they did the right thing. At the end of the show, they brought in a counselor for the Vietnam vet, and and told him that he needed help. I mean, this guy was harming himself. He was hurting himself. He was making this woman believe that there was true paranormal going on, and it was not. That was one of the probably the most interesting cases we ever done. Not finding anything. I mean, when you go to locations and you do an investigation, you can go to a location that's not haunted, and you still may get something. Because there's a lot of residual hauntings that take place. If there's a cemetery nearby, or something very tragic happened on that property, that sort of thing. But one of the most interesting cases was the Ramblewood Mansion, where it mentioned I was the host for paranormal investigations for other paranormal teams that would come in and do overnights for the whole weekend. I was there from 2007 to 2016, and during that time, there was only 2 good things that I can, say that was truly paranormal. One was a full body apparition of a woman in period clothing, 3:00 in the morning. The team had turned into their rooms. I had went into the family room, laid down on the couch, and I heard a noise. And when I lifted my head and looked, she was walking by. I think she was one of the Worthington family members. She was in like a blue robin egg color period clothing. And as soon as I got up, I would say within 6 seconds, I should have been able to see her going up the steps, because that's where she was heading. But she was nowhere to be found. So I went and I went upstairs and I woke everybody up. And, I thought maybe somebody went out to their car and put a dress on and came back in and was going to do some kind of reenactment or something. That's what I thought. But never did find her. And another interesting one that happened there was I had a team come in and they did an overnight, and me and my nephew was there and a friend. Them two said they were going to go get some more groceries, for the next group that was getting ready to come in, because I would feed them and, all that good stuff. And he says, we'll be back in about an hour or two. I said, okay, I'm going to go take a shower. So I go in, I'm in the shower, and I hear the bathroom door creaking, like, so I, Chuck, Jaws, no answer. So I let it go. I continue, lathering up, and next thing I know, I hear this noise again. And I said, all right, somebody's trying to mess with me. I think it's either Gary or it's Chuck trying to scare me. I got out of the shower, and when I went to reach for my towel was gone. And I said, where the hell did my towel go? My clothes are still sitting there on the sink, my clean clothes. And so I said, well, I got to get back in the shower because I don't have all the shampoo out of my hair. So I get back in and I hear the door again. So this time I got out, walked over to the door, opened it up. Now, when you stick your head out the bathroom door, if you look left, there's a window. If you look right, it's the hallway that goes down to the front door entrance where you come in. So I go back in and I'm like scratching my head and I'm like, where's my towel? So I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to take my clean clothes and dry off with them a little bit and just wear them until they dry. I heard a noise out in the hallway. I said, come on, Chuck, stop playing. Because Chuck was known to, to do things like that. So I stuck my head out the door. I looked left, and that's looking out the window like I described. And I looked right. This time, something told me to look down. I looked down, and there's my towel stretched out in the hallway, just laying on the ground. So I reached down, I grabbed it, I went in, I dried off, I got dressed. I went back out onto the deck, and I'm sitting out there for a good 30, 40 minutes. Here comes Gary and Chuck up the driveway, driving. And they pulled in. And I'm like, did you guys come back and leave again? And they were like, no, we're just getting back. Why? What's wrong? And, I told them what happened. But Ramblewood Mansion was part of the Underground Railroad. And the Worthingtons were the family owners of the house, very, very wealthy. The house itself sat on a campground, and the owner, there were many people that wanted to buy the house. He would not sell it. Till this day, he still hasn't sold the house. Now, I say it's part of the Underground Railroad. I mean, it had the back steps, for the workers, the maid, all that stuff that would use the back steps, and it had a cupola and all that good stuff. And MPRT, over the years, we did a lot of investigations there and got a lot of results. And even after I left there in 2016, another paranormal group went in and started filming, and they wanted to do their thing, and I think it lasted like 3 or 4 years, and then they stopped. And now it's like every now and then a group will go there to do an investigation. Now it's right on the Susquehanna River, Conowingo Dam, which is in Darlington, Maryland. That's where it's located. So, like I said, over the years, lots and lots of results. I've gotten EVPs of children laughing, playing, crying, um, doors slamming, all sorts of things. So, not just Ramblewood, but like I mentioned, we did Fort Howard State Hospital. I had the nursing home that was part of that. There were 4 houses on the property that presidents lived in, and a lot of rich history and lots of paranormal activity at that location as well. I'm just looking down at my notes. I wanted to see if I okay. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, my 18th birthday. I'm not gonna get into that. I'm gonna leave that for my book. I am writing a book, and I'm hoping to have it out by the end of the year. It's going to be about a lot of the tragedies within my family, the paranormal stuff, the angelic stuff, the good, the bad, and I truly don't think my family was cursed. I'm 60 years old. I'm the last of my whole family. My 2 brothers and sister are deceased. My mom and dad is deceased, and I was the baby. Born in 1963, and I'm still going. And it's like, I've been through a lot. A lot of things have hit me, and I just keep bouncing back and getting on top.
Yeah, I think it's about the only thing you can do. I mean, that's with as much adversity and tragedy you went through. I think it's about the only thing you can do. Well, we're getting a little over an hour here, so I'm going to throw a question here. We got one question. It's from Danny. It says, "How far back in your family has paranormal or seen or thoughts before death?" I assume, how far back has that been reported, or do you know if it was just with your mom and dad?
Well, I guess the best way I could put it is, as I started, getting near my teen, I was 13 when my brother was in that car accident, and he was 18 years old. As I was growing up, like I said, I heard my parents talking to their, brothers and sisters and about paranormal activity that they experienced. It wasn't just at my parents' location. And it wasn't just at my parents' one location. He had a shore home. That's where my brother and sister drowned. And then they eventually they moved on, and they continued to have paranormal activity, shadows, and voices, and things moving and things falling, and lights flickering, and my dad used to. Well, my mom used to hear the voices a lot. It wasn't my dad that heard them as much as my mom. And, it was her brother. It was, my dad's sisters had experiences, at their locations. So, I was born in 1963. My brother and sister died in 1960. So I guess by the time I was 8, 9 years old, I started hearing these things. Listening to them talk. That's why I can remember, because it went on. I didn't lose my parents until after I was 20 something. Mm-hmm. So, it just continued, and my mom's side of the family, as far as her siblings, they passed, and we just don't have that much time. But her siblings went through hell. My dad had 6 sisters, and some of them, 1 second, some of them, well, most of them lived in Eastern Shore, and they had issues with hauntings, being aggravated by it, stuff like that. But here's the funny thing. I remember my dad and my mom talking about going ghost hunting. Yeah, they talked about, Black Aggie and, a number of things that they used to do when they were younger and places they would visit, places they would go. So yeah, maybe something, followed them. I've had it happen to me from Ramplewood many a times. But I just don't think I just don't think there's a curse. Um, if there is, I've cheated death a few times. I got over it, got past it. My wife in 2019 had a medical miracle. I'm going to be doing a show about that soon. So she had a massive heart attack, hole in her heart, and they were going to do it. They were going to do a bypass, and they never did because she was in the hospital for 52 days, and she's here today. Lived to tell. And the reason they said they weren't going to do, now this is going to freak you out a little bit. The reason they said they weren't going to do open heart surgery was because the night before she was scheduled, they did images. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
The hole was gone. They didn't need to do open heart surgery. They just treated her with medicine. 2 weeks after that, 52 days, 2 weeks after that, she was released from the hospital, and she has not had an issue since.
Yeah, that's a
Thank
miracle. That's a miracle. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, it's been, yeah. You said you was afraid you'd scare me or make me. No, not at all, buddy. Man, I've enjoyed it.
Please don't unfriend me.
No, there's a lot of stuff you've said that when it comes to the curse stuff, because my dad always, my dad used to tell us
Right.
we had a curse, the Odell curse, and it didn't have anything to do with tragedy or much of a tragedy like that, but
well, let me ask you this. I'm sorry. Let me ask you this. Do you know of anybody that's ever told you, both of their parents told them the night before they were leaving?
Not personally. I've heard other people say that's happened, but not personally. I mean, just with your dad and stuff, I can, or I mean, with your mom, with you holding her hand and stuff, I can relate to that. I did that with my dad.
And my wife told the doctors and told the family the same thing my mom told the family and doctors.
Yeah.
My son's girlfriend was pregnant while this was going on with my wife. And my wife told the doctors and the family, she said, "I'm not going anywhere. I got a grandbaby coming."
Mm-hmm.
She's 4 years old now. And you know what her middle name is? Grace.
Awesome.
Amen.
Awesome, buddy. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities there, buddy, with things that happened with me, and I was having a hard time a couple times when he was talking. I mean, I can feel you. I can feel the things you went through.
Yeah, I get very emotional,
Yeah.
It just, it tears me up when I talk about it, but I'm able to get past it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I need to have you back because I really want to hear some more. We'll dive into
there's
more.
more.
Yeah.
There's more.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear some more. And I'm sure there will be people that want you to come back. I guarantee you. But I really appreciate you coming. Yeah. I'm just, yeah, feeling what you're talking about, because I've been there. I've been there with my parents. I've lost both of my parents. I still have my brothers and everything, but I've lost a lot of family members, and lost mom when she was 62 and dad when he was 70. Um, but yeah, with mom, there was something that happened after, when you talked about your mom wanting to see her grandbaby.
Mm-hmm.
My mom passed away on December 5th. My youngest son was born on December 29th of the same month, the same year.
Wow.
And she never got to meet him.
Hmm.
See, now you're gonna make me fall apart here.
Now, hey, here, one more thing. I told you my wife was scheduled to get open heart surgery because, they said she had a hole in her heart, and they showed the pictures to us. Here's the date. She was scheduled to get the open heart surgery. My mom's birthday.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was another thing that, clicked at the top of my head. I'm like, oh my God, I don't believe this. Yeah. So, yeah, I'd be happy to, come back on again. Just let me know. And I definitely want to have you back on as well.
Oh yeah, I definitely.
And
I can do that.
thank you for the books that you sent out to me. Yeah, great books.
I hope you enjoyed them. I tell people I'm not a writer, buddy. Those the little books that I did, the cryptid books.
Mm-hmm.
It was rough. Yeah, it was rough for me putting words together and making it sound right, and because I'm definitely not a writer. It took some time.
I'm not either, but that's why I'm going to have my wife is going to proofread, and and then I'm going to have it proofread again, and by a friend, and make sure everything's good to go. So,
well, I bought the app Grammarly to do the two little books.
mm-hmm.
The Bigfoot book, technically, like I tell people, I really didn't write that book. I took reports and wrote the reports, and I took the way that it was written, the way the person told me the story or sent me the story, and or the way I took the report, in their language. That's the way I wanted it in a book. I didn't want to sit down and say, I need to change this because this doesn't sound right. I need to change.
Right.
And it's not grammatically correct. I know it's not. A lot of it isn't. But I wanted it to be, as authentic as possible. And most people have, almost everybody's read it, has liked it. I've had one bad review, and I know who it was, on Amazon, talking about how it was poorly written and it was this and this and that. And but I knew who this person was, and so I told Amazon who it was, or what, I knew who it was, and they were just doing this. They did it to a friend of mine as well, and they took the review rate off. Now I'm okay with 4-star or something like that, but this guy gave me like a 0 or 1 to 0 star or something like that, and put a really, and so, and then he did the exact same thing to a friend of mine, and yeah, so there's those people out there.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me know when your book's out, man. I definitely want it.
Okay. Yep, you'll get it.
I really want to hear the story. I mean,
now, the next time I come on, I'll share a couple, of my Bigfoot findings. I've never seen a Bigfoot, but I've had experiences.
Okay.
And I know they were there. I won't go into details. I'll tell that another time. But I live in an area, real quick. I live in an area. I live in an area that is well known for Bigfoot. half a mile is the closest sighting in my area from time to time. Yeah. So,
Yep. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. And
definitely.
we'll get it scheduled. It'll be, let me see. Might be able to do it in July, sometime in July. I got openings in July. Got everybody booked until then, and we can talk about that or see how your schedule is, and
right.
Maybe we could do figure out how to do a crossover. Maybe we'll just do it all at one time and kind of stuff like that. Maybe,
yeah.
If we can figure that out, I'm not that technically savvy, so.
Yeah, I'm still figuring out. I went from Restream to StreamYard, and I'm totally more happier being on StreamYard than Restream. But I'm still learning the techniques. So.
Well, I'm just doing the basic, watching the comments, where I can load pictures and stuff. Mm-hmm. Whether there's other ways to do stuff, I haven't figured it out yet.
But yeah, I tried messing with the green screen and totally failed. So
yeah,
I got some more homework to do because I definitely want to do that. I want to put a background behind me and not have to worry about it pixelating and bleeding and if somebody walks behind it, their body comes out into that sort of thing. So
I haven't even dug into that yet. I just you see my books back here. That's just part of my books. I got a whole big bookshelf in my living room with all kind of books on it. So this is just setting in my little desk in my bedroom.
Right.
So,
well, listen, happy anniversary again, and thank you very much for having me on. And I'd be honored to come back and, like you said, and do it again. Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Well,
I'm gonna look at my dates. I'm booked up for the rest of this month. To send you a date and have you back on as well. Okay.
Absolutely. And we'll get it figured out.
Let's say hi to Bill Rigby. Hope he's
Bill
doing
Rigby.
well. I hope Beth is feeling better. Yeah.
Yeah, Bill. Yeah, as you see there on the little scroller there, it says, sponsored by, Agents of the Unexplained. That is Bill. Mm-hmm. Bill reached out to me and said, hey, because I mentioned about doing a podcast. Mm-hmm. And he reached out to me and said, hey, I have this StreamYard. I use it. He said, you're more welcome to join with me on it. And so we share the StreamYard. And if it wasn't for Bill doing that, I may have done it later. I just don't know if I would have done it as quickly as I have. But if it wasn't for Bill pushing me or encouraging me, I don't want to say pushing me, encouraging me to come on and start doing it. I don't know if I would as quick as I did. So that's why it says sponsored by the Agents of the Unexplained. Bill's a real good friend, heck of a guy. And we love him a bunch.
He's my, he keeps me going, man, every day. One more thing before we go. I just wanted to let you know that, I think I've told you before, I have family in West Virginia in Ormond, and they have 522.5 acres. So sometime in 2025, I'm going to do a 3-day event there, and I would love to have you.
Absolutely. Did you say in Harmon?
Ormond.
Oh, Ormond. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
That's why I was asking. I thought that's what you told me before. I was like, I thought you said something. I was like, hey man.
I was going to. I scheduled something, but then I had to, put it off because of medical issues. Right now, I'm still in a wheelchair, but I can walk. I'm just having problems with blood flow in my legs getting down to my feet and being, the way it's supposed to be. But and I've gotten out there. I've put boots on the ground, but not a whole lot. So yeah.
Well, God bless you and prayers to you and you recover from whatever's going on. I mean, I understand diabetic and You know, it could be a rough hoe, man. It could be a rough road to hoe with it.
Yeah.
They diagnosed me with type 2 a couple years ago. Mine stemmed from, well, they said it kind of went hand in hand. I ended up with a what's it called, autoimmune disease that killed my thyroid, and so it messed everything up. But I've been working on stuff now for a few months, probably 6 or 8 months or more, and numbers are looking good. I've lost about 60 pounds, and yeah, got more energy. I'm out there just getting at her as best I can, and because when they told me, you know, this was after my granddaughter was born, the doctor looked at me and said, "Hey, if we don't get something under control here, you're going to die. You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 50." You know, I'm 50. I'm 50, and I'm still here. So,
wow. Yeah, real quick, I had dropped from 240 down to 160. And I'll tell you, I was really feeling it. If it wasn't for my daughter-in-law and my son, I would not be sitting here talking to you today.
Right.
So thank the good Lord for that.
Absolutely.
All right,
well, we're glad you did. We're glad you're here.
Yeah, please stay in touch, and like I said, happy anniversary, and you'll be hearing from me.
Alrighty.
I'll, stay in touch, and we'll talk soon.
All right, I'll see you.
All right, thanks again.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye. All right, folks. I really don't know what to say about that. I can relate a lot to what Dave was saying. Heartfelt stuff, man. Heartfelt. With my mom and dad and things. A couple times I almost broke. You know, I've been there. And thanks, Tony. Thanks a bunch. So before I actually do kind of break down here and what, with things that he said, I'm going to go ahead and end it and end the show here. But I still want to thank all y'all for coming and watching. And I greatly appreciate it. And next week will be John Stasko. I want to make sure I pronounce his name right. John Stasko Jr. He's I guess you'd say, investigator, researcher of all things strange. So we'll see what John wants to talk about. We'll get into probably some ghosts, probably some Bigfoot, probably UFOs. I'm not sure, but we'll get into all kind of stuff there. And yeah, we'll see y'all next week.